Some of Colorado's most prominent public health leaders are under increasing political pressure and now the threat of physical violence. Police are protecting Tri-County Health Department after the doctors there received a threat that there would be shooting and a coming civil war if they did not immediately lift stay-home orders. Tri-County Health acknowledges that politics played a role in its decision not to recommend a public mask order like the one in Denver. Steve Steger starts us off tonight with a look at public health, politics, and the threat of violence.
The email threatening civil war started on a kind note from the inbox of a receptionist at Tri-County Health Department in Greenwood Village. Quote, "I know you're the receptionist and not responsible for these edicts, but tell the 9 petty tyrants who want to keep locking most of Colorado down to bleep off. We the people are done with this bleeping bull bleep, and you're about to start a hot shooting, no bull bleep civil war." The bleeps are bad words. Greenwood Village police say, though they don't consider this a crime, they are stepping up patrols around that office. The email, not the only sign of pressure at a Tri-County office. Over in Aurora, police are investigating 4 reports of vandalism at a Tri-County satellite office in 3 weeks, from breaking windows to spray painting another bleep on the window earlier this week. The pressure is on the large health department on the collar of Denver, and it may be getting hot enough that the Tri-County Health Department is steering away from public health orders. At a board meeting this morning, Dr. John Douglas, the executive director, argued against a mask order, saying public health orders have been politicized and there is fatigue in the public, suggesting instead that cities make their own decisions while Tri-County focuses on educating the public on how masks work. Now, throughout this pandemic, Tri-County has been the target of political pressure. You might remember several Republican leaders wanted Douglas County to fire that health department when it was trying to impose a stay-at-home order before the state of Colorado did back in March. Now, that pressure led Tri-County to leave Douglas County out of an extended stay-at-home order, which expires on Friday, Kyle.
So Tri-County is leaving whether to do a public mask order up to municipalities. And if those municipalities want to, say, contact their public health experts about it, they pick up the phone and call, oh yeah, Tri-County Health Department. They don't have their own health experts.
Yeah, you think about the city and county of Denver has its own health department. So in that case, they consulted with their health department and decided to pass this mask order. But when it comes to all the little jurisdictions inside that 3-county, Adams, Arapahoe, and Douglas, they all have to consult with Tri-County Health when it comes to public health issues.
Steve Steger, thank you very much. Aurora's Republican Mayor Mike Kaufman told me today that threats of physical violence over public health orders are sad and tragic. Kaufman is in a challenging spot. So he's the Republican mayor of a large and diverse city that shares a health department with the more conservative Douglas County. Kaufman criticized Tri-County Health for carving out Dougco when they decided to extend the stay-home order in the rest of their jurisdiction. And Kaufman is frustrated that the head of Tri-County Health did not give Aurora clear guidance on whether to join Denver in requiring masks in public. A decision in part due to politics.
It leaves us in an odd position. I mean, technically the fact that we don't have public health authority at the municipal level. We are not a city and a county government like Denver. Public health is at the county and the state level of government. But we still have concerns. But it puts us in an odd position because we don't have our own public health department. We don't have public health experts at the municipal level. We rely on his judgment. We rely on the judgment of Tri-County Health Department.
Fears of politicization seems like a bad way to make public health policy, because the public health and science doesn't really care about politics. What role do you think that has played in all this, and what would you like to see change going forward?
Well, first of all, we're not looking to him for political advice. We're looking to Tri-County Health for public health advice, for public health guidance, because they are the public health entity that represents the city of Aurora. I think there needs to be significant reform of the system. I really do think that I think Governor Polis has done a good job. But I do think, and there have been a lot of complaints about having non-elected boards having such incredible authority that was never, I think they were created statutorily by a legislature that never envisioned a pandemic crisis like this.
Mayor Kaufman is asking for a meeting on Monday with the head of Tri-County Health to ask some specific questions about whether Aurora should mandate masks, and he wants to make a recording of that meeting public. For Aurora to get its own health department, it would need to become a city and county like Denver. That is a complex process. I discuss it with Mayor Kaufman in our full interview on the next YouTube channel.